Once in time, humans began to explore the universe on scales greater than its size. They started to observe from their own body to their immediate environment. Their built environment as its constructions, houses, restaurants, and the natural environment they are embedded in. Then, going through the scales of its parcels and blocks, the land, and continuing with the neighborhoods, the villas, and the communes to arrive at the largest scale of the built environment perceptible up to now, the cities and the metropolises that are located in landscapes, constituting states. When looking at countries as groups of states located in territories, humans began to organize them into geographical categories such as regions and later continents. It was then when humans believed that the center of the universe was the planet Earth, the biosphere, and its limits were the orbits of its satellites, like the moon, geocentrism. But then they realized that there were other planets, and that the biosphere was part of a bigger system with a star in its center, the solar system, and its outer orbits became the new limits of the universe. That was known as heliocentrism. Until then, humans had these two ethics, heliocentrism and geocentrism, both seen through an egocentric worldview known as anthropocentrism. The humans were the center of every perspective. And just in those times, humans discovered there were other neighboring stars like the Sun, and thus other solar and planetary systems like theirs. These systems were in turn located into interstellar clouds known as local bubbles, which were part of a global system called galaxy, the Milky Way, the new limit of the universe by then. But once again, the universe gave another lesson to the stubborn human who reduced the limits of reality to the ones of its knowledge. The Milky Way was in a neighborhood of galaxies, even larger, like Andromeda, and these galaxies are part of local groups known as superclusters, now components of a global system that includes everything, the cosmic web, the uniform known universe, until now. The questions here and now are: is the universe actually boundless and limitless? What is after the greatest universal limit? Nothing? If the universe is supposed to end there can be nothing. If so, what is nothingness? It must be something, but an unknown something. And it is here that we can narrate the other history, a kind of parallel to this one, both in space and time. So, in turn, humans looked inside and they began to explore the universe on scales smaller than their own. They started to observe the parts of the body and of the matter, and its observant eye, a subject, became an object of observation. They realized that their body was also made up of organs, and these, in turn, were made up of tissues, cells, and molecules. It was known that the cell, the fundamental unit of life, contains genetic material in structures called chromosomes, and these DNA strands were made up of groups of atoms called molecules. And finally, these atoms were the fundamental unit of matter having no parts, the universal limit of the smallest, atomism. But once again, the universe gave another lesson to the stubborn human who reduced the limits of reality to those of its knowledge. The atom, as it was known for more than 2,000 years, also has particles. In the words of Niels Bohr, the atom is a small solar system with a nucleus in the center and electrons moving around the nucleus in well-defined orbits. And these particles, besides the electrons, also include the protons and neutrons in its nucleus, getting to the quarks and neutrinos, the smallest known particles of reality until now. The questions here and now are: is the universe actually composed of elementary particles that contain nothing? But What is nothingness? Everything?